Hi, I'm Mike Blume, and we're discussing the alleged differences between Matthew 24 and Luke 21, which futurists contend prove that they were two different conversations, where things mentioned in Luke can only have been fulfilled in the temple destruction of AD 70, which they agree. Matthew 24, they say, is not fulfilled yet. There are things coming in Matthew 24 that could not possibly have been fulfilled in the first century in AD 70. Well, I'm here to show you that is wrong, that they were the same conversation. Another argument they make about the differences is that both Matthew 24 and Luke 21 do agree in mentioning the same cluster of events. They both mention false Christs, wars, famines, deaths, martyrs, and chaos. They believe it's global chaos. I believe it's localized chaos in Jerusalem. Nevertheless, Matthew 24 and Luke 21, say futurists, are discussing the same cluster of events in those instances. But they say, here's another subtle difference which proves the two conversations were completely different. They argue if you look closely at Luke 21 and look at verse 12, after the series of events is mentioned, we read, "But before all these things, they shall lay their hands on you and persecute you, delivering you up to the synagogues and into prisons," etc., etc. So they say there's a cluster of events mentioned, and then Jesus says, before this happens, they're going to deliver you. And then they say, look carefully in Matthew 24 and see what Matthew 24 says after this series of events. Verses 8 and 9, all these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted and shall kill you. So Matthew 24 says, after this series of events occurs, you'll be delivered. Luke 21 says, before this series of events occurs, you'll be delivered. So Luke 21 is discussing way back in AD 70, before these events occur, and Matthew 24 is talking about our future long after these events occur. And so, is that true? Is that a valid argument? Well, no. Then does not always mean after. Then can refer to that time. For example, if I talk about something that happened, and then I mention another point, and you say, when did that second point happen? I can say then. When the first point happened, then is when the second point occurred too. It's an additional factor involved in the timing. In that case, then does not mean after. It means at that time, then. Then can mean after in other instances. We can talk about the plane shot through the air from the north to the south, then a plane shot from the east to the west. In other words, one occurred, and then after another occurred. But then also means in other instances, in other vocabulary, at that time, not after whatsoever. And so we see that that argument certainly fails, that Luke 21 and Matthew 24 are two different conversations. Let's continue discussing the issue of the differences between Matthew 24 and Luke 21. And I want to show you they're talking about the same conversation.